not sure if that's my mic or my audio. Can't hear you. Oh, very vaguely.
How about now?
It's coming
How
up.
about now?
That's better.
1, 2, 1, 2.
That seems okay.
Okay, good. I had a nightmare on a podcast that I recorded where it was just peaking constantly, and so it was basically unusable, unsavable. Not even AI could figure it out. So I'm paranoid about paranoid about that, basically. How are you? You right?
Yeah, I am okay. Good.
Where are you in the world?
Warsaw.
All right, cool. What are you doing up there? Just hanging out?
Yeah, well, yes, hanging out, all kinds of things, really. Martina was performing at an event last night, so that went on to quite late, and it was her stepdad's birthday, or not my stepdad, her dad's birthday, my father-in-law's birthday. So that was good. So I'm a bit groggy today, but otherwise just
I was going
work.
to say you're hanging because they drink a lot of vodka, don't they?
Yeah, and yes, and also party and dance and stuff in a way that we don't in the UK because we're a bit too self-conscious. I think it's a bad thing, but that was good. And otherwise, just kind of working really. I've been asked by the Publishers Code and Page to write a third edition of How People Learn, which I have mixed feelings about, really. How is it doing?
Yeah, you sending lots of copies? What's the...
I don't really know. I don't keep track of how many copies I've sold. I don't know why I would, really. It's not like it makes so much money that... I mean, why would you? Why would you keep track of how many copies you've sold? I don't know.
Data, isn't it?
What data? Yeah, what do you do with that data?
It gives you a sense of your impact.
Does it? I don't think it does. I mean, imagine that millions of people bought the book, but nobody understood it. Wouldn't have any impact then, would you? I think that's the real challenge, is resonance and connecting with people. This came up because somebody was asking, I know it sounds a bit abstract, but somebody was asking about their strategy, their company strategy. And the way I read their strategy statement, it perfectly articulated what they were doing. But their complaint wasn't resonating with people. And I could see that that's also true. You can have a way of describing what you're doing, which perfectly describes it, but nobody understands. I think the point of connection has to come where, it really resonates is the word I'm using, but something is meaningful. It really comes to life for people. And I think that's really the progress that needs to be made, really. That's why I say I have mixed feelings about it, because I still feel that I'm struggling to get really anybody to understand the second edition. So it's like, why would I publish a third edition? But they've said basically put more AI and neuroscience in it, which I will do. But why that is. It's kind of like, well, everyone was talking about AI now. So, well, if you understood the stuff in the second edition, you wouldn't be struggling to understand neuroscience and AI. There we go.
Yes. I guess the problem is that people struggle to understand the concept, but then the application of the concept is the way that people struggle most. Right?
I think understanding is highly rated by most people. I think it's really just application. I need to focus more on just sort of simple application stuff. How about you? Are you busy at the moment?
Yeah, I'm really busy, which is good. Been in Greece,
Nice.
Been to see some more clients recently, kind of managing 4 projects, which I'm not supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be building the business, but needs must and all. So yeah, I've got some really cool stuff coming up with some really interesting people. So I'm quite excited about next year. It's shaping up really nicely. Going to hire some more people again. So yeah, it's good. It's good to be busy. Business is good. Work's interesting. We did some work with Vodafone recently. I don't know if you saw Sam's post.
Yes, I did. Yeah, sounds exciting.
The ball pit's back. The ball pit was back.
Ball pit is back.
Yeah. So that was great. Really cool project. Team did a great job. Yeah. I went to a place called Piano Smithfield last night. And the guy who's playing piano there was the best, I think probably the best musician I've ever seen. He was insane. It was like, when someone's such an expert at something that the tool that they're using almost looks like it's a part of their body. It was like, it's just insane. He would play anything from ear, so he would just do a request, even if he didn't know the song. He'd find the words find the lyrics, and he would just play. He played "November Rain" by Guns N' Roses from basically just from ear. It was amazing.
Nice.
So yeah, what was that? It was Thursday night. Yeah, it was his first gig there as well. Yeah, but yeah, I've had a few cocktails last night as well, so probably not as much as you.
Well, I try to steer clear of the cocktails. I feel like just Jack Daniels and Coke works for me.
How's that? Can you hear me?
Yay!
Loud and clear. Do you know what? It would be super spooky if the bipping were still there. It would be like, it's in your house.
It's just me tapping on the desk. I'd really.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
Good.
I feel like I only ever see you both at weddings, so this feels very celebratory already.
You're looking very celebratory. I love your
You?
festive
Thank you very much.
gear, if that's what it is.
It's not festive gear, it's a strawberry top. Yeah,
It's ready.
Planning to do. All right, I think great.
But no,
So, yeah.
good. Well, I've told you this, Charlie. I'm solo parenting at the moment, so that brings all of its joys and challenges. I'm 2 weeks in, 3 months to go.
That's a lot of time.
It is. To be fair, Luke is home for Christmas, so it will break it up a little bit. But yeah, it's the first job that he's taken overseas since we had our son. So it's been 2.5 years. So the other filming jobs he's had have been in sort of Bristol and Cardiff. So he's been able to come home at the weekend. So this is kind of the first big, like, oh, you really are away now for 3 months. So yeah, but that's quite hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, thank God I've only got one child, not like you, Charlie. So I'm not actually sure I could cope doing it by two. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's just, what can you do really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my wife hates it if I go away. I was in Greece a couple of weeks ago. I was saying to Nick, I was away for 3 nights, 2 full days and 3 nights. And I flew out at like midnight and then flew back as soon as I possibly could. But even then it was a trial. Also, Ziggy got chicken pox, so she was dealing with a sick baby at the same time. So yeah, the idea that I would ever be able to go away for 3 months, you're a very tolerant person, I would say. Well, at least much more tolerant than my lovely wife on that one.
I know. It's one of those things that you kind of don't really anticipate this when you first start going out 12 years ago. You're like, oh yeah, this is pain in the arse.
I hope you're not successful in your film career so that you don't go away for 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. I hope you just keep doing like kind of crappy short films in and around London. But yeah, that would be so. No, it's all good, and it's an exciting project. He's doing the prequel to Killing Eve. I don't know if you guys saw.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember? I feel like it went on a bit. I remember the first 2 series, and it was very good. And then I kind of slightly lost in. But this is the prequel, so it's about some of the handlers, and it's set in Berlin in the Cold War, so it should be quite exciting. They're not actually filming in Berlin; they're filming in Lithuania, where it's apparently very, very bloody cold. So it should be quite an interesting project. It's not called Killing Steve, unfortunately. I was disappointed with that. Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's not.
We have too many Steves. We need a Carl.
Yeah.
I feel like having children, listening to you describe that experiences, I mean, it's going out of fashion, isn't it? Isn't like having children something that our generation or your generation, maybe we're the last generation to feel good about it. Everybody around the world seems to be having fewer children, with a couple of exceptions.
Well, Elon Musk is very scared of this, isn't he?
He's got hundreds of children.
He does.
And they're all called like 76514Z.
Any way to keep track of them, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, he's worried about the world population collapsing, and he said, I like his analogy is that a good way to measure it is the number of nappies being sold to people, elderly people versus children. And he says in like Japan, there's a massive imbalance. So
Why are we worried about? Aren't there not enough jobs and not enough affordable housing? Wouldn't it be great if the world
there are less
population
people.
collapsed?
Not when growth is the only outcome. Not when economic growth is the only thing anyone cares about, then it's impossible to grow when there's less people to buy stuff, I guess.
Yeah, there we have it.
So that's going to be interesting. Cool. So, Neusha, what are you up to at the moment? You doing coaching stuff still?
Yeah, I'm doing coaching. So, yes, I'm coaching, I'm facilitating. I'm actually doing some coaching with somebody that you used to work with, Nick. I'm working with at the moment, so that's good fun. I've just been coaching some Italian partners this morning. But yeah, no, so I'm doing that. I'm also doing a coaching course at the moment on somatic coaching, which is all it's probably might sound a bit woo-woo, but it's about body orientated coaching. So yeah, I don't know. I felt for a while in my coaching that something was a bit missing, and just focus on intellectualizing just didn't quite, it felt like, can't we do a bit more here?
If you're worried about it sounding a bit woo-woo, Antonio Damasio, I don't know if you've come across him, the neuroscientist, wrote a few books, Descartes' error being the one that springs to mind. He has a theory called somatic marker hypothesis. You might be able to kind of link it back. I'm sort of guessing a little bit of what somatic coaching is about, but there might be a nice connection there.
Yeah, nice. I mean, somatic coaching is really just about bringing the whole person into the coaching conversation. So rather than it just being, talking about your goals, intellectualizing self conceptually, it's much more about, what is in the here and now? What do you feel about that? And just working with. I think there is sometimes a bit of an assumption that it could be a bit kind of performative and a bit dramatic and getting people to spread themselves around a room, and it absolutely isn't that. It's actually quite like that. Yeah, I suppose kind of edges, sort of bumps up against mindfulness and those types of practices. So it's been brilliant. And to be honest, it's been brilliant for me. I think going back to what we were talking about parenting and kind of been far too, I think I was just feeling a little bit like, overwhelmed and out of sorts. And I think if I go through this process myself, actually allowing myself to start slowing down and tuning in and just taking things a little bit slower has been, it's been pretty kind of massive for me, actually.
Do you think, in your experience, Neusha, then coaching people, I guess typically in business, that they lose touch with how they're feeling?
Yeah, I think so. And interesting you say that, Nick. I was coaching someone in a different organisation a few months ago, and he actually said to me, I don't lock them away. They're not welcome here. So we can just put that all in a box and put it up there. And it was very interesting because he did talk about his feelings, and we kind of, not that we opened up the box hugely, but there was some personal reasons, some medical reasons as to why he just felt that it was safe to shut down. I think, not necessarily feeling safe to bring your whole self. I know we talk a lot about that, bringing your whole self into work, but actually I think there is still a bit of a sense of it is safer if I lock all that away. That's not really welcome here. So it's just kind of gently sort of edging into that and just exploring what that can look like. But it's been a really interesting journey so far. I'm 3 months in. I've got another 3 months to go. So I'm hoping I'll be some kind of Jedi master by the end of it. I think that was what the objective was. Right?
Yeah. I love that idea. What do you learn about coaching Italian partners?
What did I learn about what?
When you were saying you were coaching some Italian partners, what do you notice about Italian partners versus, I don't know, UK partners, like culturally? Is there a big distinction?
I feel like this is a loaded question, Charlie, but she's just going to take a run at it because she's a good sport.
Well, what do you what's the first?
I guess, I can say what's behind the question. I'm just interested in cultural differences, basically. I was chatting to a Italian this morning, who I'm doing some work with on a skills product. And yeah, he's UK based now. And we talk quite a bit about his journey to come to the UK and live in London. And he still works a lot with Italian companies, and there's a difference. My grandma's Italian, so I'm kind of interested in Italy in particular. So that's what's behind the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think that culturally, and I mean, I'm not just working with Italian partners. We're working on a program across the European areas, so European partners. So we've got Italian, Dutch, but all over. Yeah, and I mean, there are obviously cultural differences. I think. What do I think? I mean, something that I recognize in the coaching is just that there's a lot of storytelling. So something that I do contract is just being okay with me interrupting and just keeping us on track. As great as it is to hear some of these stories, and I am fascinated to get that kind of peek into the world. Equally, we've only got X amount of time, and you've said that you want to get this out of our time. So making sure that we stay on track, I think that's really key. So that was just something that I was recognizing in the conversation. That was a lot of, quite a lot of story, a lot of kind of excitement around what he was sharing, but equally maybe not necessarily related to what he wanted to get out of. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Nick, did you work across the different kind of, across Europe in the work that you were doing, or were you based mostly with the UK partners in your work?
Mainly UK, but we obviously kind of collaborated. There's a kind of NSE, Northern Southern Europe kind of forum, a governance group that used to join. And I mean, the work I do now, I think maybe most of my work is with people from other cultures. So it is a really interesting question, those cultural differences. And yeah, I've seen a few different models. I was just looking for one now about the different axes on which, people vary by culture. And obviously it's always a bit of an oversimplification because individual variances generally outweigh cultural average kind of differences. But I do notice that one of the things that you mentioned, storytelling and expression and kind of emotional expression vary quite a lot, between cultures. And that's sort of interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the study, but there's a cultural study around context awareness, which I thought was interesting around particularly Asian cultures that will look at the context in which the fish is swimming, and the Western cultures generally will focus on the kind of individual fish within that context. So it's interesting to see, for me to think about how our worldviews are shaped by the culture that you were brought up in, the language that you speak, the type, I was on a night out in Lisbon and I got chatting to a guy who spoke 9 languages or something. And I was asking him about, how does the language that you speak shape the way you think? And he was talking about, in particular, German is very definitive in the way that it structures sentences and the way that they finish the points. Conversely to Latin cultures, which are more interpretive, more kind of storytelling within the words that they use to describe things. So I think that's really interesting as well. Like I said, go on, sorry.
Sorry, Chad. Luke's working in Lithuania at the moment, and they've got some of the team in Lithuania, and I think he said the Dutch manager is German. And apparently this Dutch manager was saying, I just wish that you English could say what you mean. There's all kind of like implied or just being, not being afraid about things. He's like, just tell me what you want, tell me what you mean, and we can get it done. And I just quite funny because I think that is probably very true, that we try and kind of soften what we say, or we're a little bit sarcastic, or I don't know. And the way that that's did by other cultures is probably just we're not.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I actually prefer cultures that are more literal because I struggle with the reading between the lines. But I think you're right, Charlie. There are some cultures that are very context. You need a lot of context to unpack what's being said. But if you take Dutch culture, for example, probably a little bit like German culture, it's kind of very literal. But it's interesting that your partner is in Lithuania, because I'm currently in Poland, and in Eastern European countries, I think generally smiling is one of those things. I had to unlearn smiling because it's like you're viewed as a bit of an idiot if you go around sort of smiling at people's. It's not that the warmth isn't there; it's just it's expressed differently. You have to a little bit.
How is it expressed?
Yeah, how would you say it's
Yeah.
expressed?
Well, that's an I mean, I won't go on, but this is one of the things. If you ask, how are you? You know, how's things in UK? That's a kind of a superficial scripted exchange, whereas you can expect, you know, a whole long unpacking of somebody's current life state in Poland if you ask that question. So there's that kind of intimacy which comes from that honesty, you know, as opposed to just the chit chat that we do in the UK, which can remain, I think, quite superficial.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's a Scandinavian influence. Well, just thinking about the kind of cynicism, the dryness of British humour, I suppose, which partly might, you know, I guess when I'm thinking about it, I've been worked a lot in Denmark. There's an element of that in our culture, and then I'm thinking, so the other kind of main cultural influences. You've got North Germany, you've got Scandinavia, you've got obviously Celtic influence, and you've got, I suppose, French, Franco influence. So somehow, yes, in some way we've kind of brought in different elements of the culture, and I suppose you can see that in the way we behave. But the other thing I think is, I've heard that the Japanese culture is very similar to the UK culture in many ways. I wonder if it has something to do with being an island, but there's something about the performative nature of interaction, social interactions, and the way that it's all about saving face and not offending the other person and going through a ritual essentially of interaction, which I think was quite interesting.
Yeah. And so this course, it was, as I say, it was based in the US, and it was probably, you know, it's one of these courses that it's a bit broadcast. You've got about 400 people on the call for any 1 second. But I was just blown away by how many, you had an opportunity at the end of, you know, they do the kind of keynote and they'd introduce the models, and then there would be a Q&A for about half an hour. And every week I was just blown away by how many of the American delegates would essentially kind of use it as an open space to get therapy. And you'd see some of the same faces pop up week after week with just like a new thing that they wanted to share and talk about. And in some ways, I was actually very impressed, because I was like, there is absolutely no way that I would want to bring any of that stuff in front of 400 or 500 people. But yeah, just there seemed to be a complete, like, why not? This is the space. There's an amazing opportunity with this leading in this work. Like, why not take that? But it's like,
well, what do you do with the crusties then in your practice, Neusha? So where you've got these people like Charlie who are kind of locked down, not very good at expressing their emotions, and you have to somehow create that sort of psychological safety for them to be more American, or kind of, you know, explore their somatic side. How do you create the conditions for that to happen?
Let's do a live role model coaching session.
Good luck.
I'm a emotional.
Yet, Nick.
Yeah.
That's a really good question, and I think I am figuring it out, and I think I'm particularly figuring it out because currently I work primarily with corporate clients, and so I am feeling a little bit tentative around how I bring some of this work in, and whether it then becomes my agenda if I'm like, oh, we could try something. But I think there's definitely something in how you contribute to somebody. You know, if they've come to you as a coach and you advertise yourself as somebody who works thematically or with the whole body, then there is hopefully understanding and expectation of how you might work. But I think it's very much about taking it slow, you know, as I say, understanding in that contracting session what might work and what might not work for them, you know, and just ensuring that they feel safe working with you in that way. Understanding, what would be their kind of danger zone, what would really kind of put them into flight, fight, freeze, whatever that looks like for them. So I think asking some of those questions up front, maybe just getting a sense of, you know, when they are in state of stress or in challenge, how does that show up for them in their bodies thematically? So just getting a little bit of data that way, starting quite small. But I think it would probably be a case of, it wouldn't be something that you would necessarily go straight into first off. It might be something you start to bring in slowly as that trust is built over a course of a number of sessions. But honestly, Nick, I think I'm figuring it out as I go. Because a couple of times there have been a few things I thought, oh, this would be quite a nice new exercise that I just learned to bring in. And you've gone, I don't really know what you're talking about. So maybe that's also something for me to think about, how I articulate certain exercises. And we talk a lot about it being, that experimental attitude. It's an experiment, and the choice is always theirs as to whether or not they are open to it. Although I do sometimes, when anybody says no, if you say I've got an experiment that it might be helpful, I wonder if many people go, nah, I'm all right, thanks. But maybe I don't know. So yeah, I think I'm playing with it at the moment and seeing what works and what doesn't. But I think it probably takes a little bit of time to build up that psychological safety. In my anyway.
I think it is fascinating because quite often that's part of the challenge that we're presented with. Onboarding is a good example where one of the key objectives is to get people to connect in a sort of a deeper sense with the organization and the purpose and peers and blah, blah, blah. Both Charlie and I have kind of worked on programs like that. And there are things that you can do to give people a bit of space to connect in new ways.
Wow.
But there's quite often sort of pressure implicit within a program to do it super fast. Like, you got an hour with these people, somehow make them transformatively connected. And your answer, which is probably the right one, which is to build that kind of psychological safety takes time. I'm not sure if there are any hacks. I mean, one of the things that Kelly and I did that springs to mind is we did quite a lot of experimental stuff. We did a conference where we had people draw on each other. Sounds weird, is weird. But you did a little mini consultation with the person about what really matters to them. And then they drew like a tattoo on the other person. The idea was that it provides a format where you can kind of break down some of the normal norms, and then you're kind of crossing a physical barrier as well, which is a weird thing to do. But I'm not sure I don't feel like it was super successful. So I'm still scratching my head and thinking, I wonder how you do it.
Gives you the sense.
Sorry, did you go on?
Well, I think what I was trying to do without going on was I like your somatic point. I do think there's a lot in the physicality of connection, but obviously there are lots of norms, and as Charlie says, people are quite protective of their space, and that varies a lot by cultures. What gave me the sense that it wasn't successful? I think it was fun for people. I don't think it developed kind of profound understanding of each other. So yeah, I don't know. There weren't really any metrics associated with it, but I didn't get the feeling in the room that it was like a breakthrough moment for people.
Yeah.
I was reflecting on the stuff we did, Nick, where we put groups into pods with an animal. Do you remember that? They all had a
real animal.
No, a fake animal. They were basically, it was a fully virtual induction, and we needed to divide people into groups. So we did that, and then we were like, we needed some way of dividing, representing them rather than just having numbers. We gave them an animal. And I just think those kind of little things which people could kind of coalesce around and kind of build a shared identity around seems to be quite an effective hack. And I know that worked because, we did have things like there was virtual dates happening throughout the program and stuff like this. So it was like they obviously built a good enough connection that they felt comfortable kind of having separate conversations. And then because it was fully virtual during COVID, it was kind of forced down that route. But I was surprised by how well the animals landed and how people kind of adopted them as their like mascot, basically. So yeah, I think it's about identity, isn't it? It's about understanding the similarities that you have with somebody, and then building a community around that.
What's been most successful, Neusha, that you've seen? Because you've obviously got experience across lots of different contexts. What have you seen that you just thought, well, wow, that was really even better than I was hoping?
In terms of supporting people to connect and build trust.
and grow, I guess.
Yeah. Do you know, just thinking about icebreaking, I completely resonate. I sometimes wonder, do we put too much on, the fact we're having fun, having a laugh, like that's a small win, isn't it? Because that doesn't always, you immediately put a load of people that are very busy and would probably be rather doing other things than people, like even just the mark. But there was an exercise that we would do at L&G, which I really liked. So simple, but it was an exercise where you just share a story about your name. So you would go around, have you done it? Hope you called my fullest name.
It's my first name, yeah. We wrote that toolkit.
You is it from your toolkit? Well, I knew that. I want to say that up front. But I love that exercise. It's one that I will use again, because I just thought it was surprisingly effective. And I mean, we did it, I think it was the peak of lockdown, and there was so much that came out of it that we didn't know about each other. One of the best things, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing, but Paul O'Hara.
Yeah.
He has, I feel like maybe I'm making this up now. One of his middle names, Mary, because there was some polls about like where along the line. Was that it? Or his dad's middle name was Mary? Anyway, there was some kind of slightly bizarre story that was about kind of keeping a particular family member's name alive. And so it was passed down regardless of gender. And I just thought it was fabulous.
Paul.
It might not have been Paul, it might have been. Anyway, it was a wonderful story, and it was like.
It was a wonderful story, but it was definitely a wind up.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been a wind up, but it's tough. Whoever it was the best story. But yeah, simple things, isn't it? Simple things that maybe we don't always take the time, particularly with your immediate team. We don't always take the time to ask those types of questions. And I loved it. Well done, Sean.
Yeah, I'm not going to take all the credit for it.
You can take.
I didn't write it; somebody else did. But the game, Milanian. What's your full name? Where does it come from? What's the backstory?
Good question.
You might have to sit even a little closer to your iPhone, because it cuts out once in a while, and I want to hear this story in its entirety. Yeah.
So my full name is Neusha Patricia Mavadat Milanian.
Mavadat.
Yes, Mavadat. And so I am half Iranian. My dad is from Iran. He came over to the UK around the time of the revolution. He lived in Brighton, where he met my mum. They separated when I was 2. So unfortunately, I don't speak any Farsi. I'm very grateful to him for all the good food that I get to eat when I'm with him, but the language was not something he passed down. And one thing that I'm really annoyed with him about, because apparently he used to speak to me in Farsi and I would answer back in English, and he just ended up giving up, which often happens with 2.5-year-olds. But so Milanian, do you know, interestingly, I don't know what the name Milanian means, but I do know that apparently our name was originally Zambarov, which was a name that was, I think, of Russian origin. So I think my family came down from southern Russia into Armenia. And then when they changed the borders of Armenia and Iran, essentially my great-grandfather just decided he would be on the Iranian side and just pick a new name. So God knows where he found, what he was inspired by and what the name means, where he got it from. But yeah, just kind of made the name up and was like, that'll do. So I'm a little bit devastated that my name isn't Neusha Zambarov, because it sounds very cool and I like it, but Milanian will do. But Neusha means somebody who listens and learns quickly, which I like to think is, of course, what led me to the world of learning and development, but I'm not that thoughtful. Patricia was my mum's, my nana's name. My nana was a wonderful, wonderful human who I still think of often. And I think she was the person that instilled in me a love of cooking. And I think also probably from my Iranian background as well, food is a hugely important in the Iranian culture. You know, sharing food, sitting together, eating together. I mean, very famously in Iran, you can picnic anywhere, and often you'll see people picnicking kind of on the side of a motorway and things like that. So it's like you just take your, you know, your tea, what they call those tea urns, and your picnic blanket, and you'll take your kebab and your rice, and you'll just go kind of anywhere. So, yeah, I think that love of food, but more specifically, how food brings connection and and joy. I think that's very much something that I've taken through my life. And Mavadat was my dad's mum's name, but unfortunately I never met her. I think she died, well, many years ago. But it is quite a strong name. There's always been a question of how it's spelt, and I'm still not actually sure whether it's got 2 V's or 1 V. So yeah, I'll probably get found out at some point by putting the wrong, like what's not on my on my passport, and probably getting stopped at a border somewhere. So yeah, that's me.
Great story. Coincidentally, Zamborov is the town in northern Poland. I doubt that was, yes, way. I doubt that was why your father named it that, but yeah, just really interesting.
Could be, Nick. Who knows? I should probably ask Dad. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, that's a good exercise, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you get a lot through that?
Tell the story of your names now. Is that allowed?
Yeah. I mean, Shackleton's an obvious one, isn't it, Nick?
It is.
And Jones is less easy to pin down, I guess. Yeah.
No, dude, I might know, but no, I'd love to hear.
Ernest Shackleton, Arctic explorer, did 2 expeditions with Scott, narrowly missed out on the Antarctic expedition where Scott died. Decided subsequently, now that the pole had been reached, to do a trans-Antarctic crossing. Got a ship called the Endurance, sailed it to Antarctica, basically got stuck in the ice. The entire crew then spent 8 months trapped in the ice, waiting basically for the ship to collapse under the pressure of the ice floes. And then when it did, and they got off the ice, started trekking something like 400 miles, dragging lifeboats across the ice to the nearest land. Then the ice melted. They got in the boats, side rowing for the nearest land, and the currents took them away. So it was like, yeah, we're all going to die now. And they managed miraculously to make it to this deserted little crop of land called Elephant Island. And the nearest inhabited place was a whaling station 800 miles north of them. So Shackleton said, yeah, well, we're going to cross 800 miles in a rowboat, basically, and said, oh, I'll take you, you, and you. So there were 5 of them in total. The sea that they crossed was Drake's Passage, which is, you know, notoriously like 30-foot high waves, that kind of stuff. And it's considered the most impossible mission, I think, ever accomplished. And so he rowed this little rowboat, you know, with the 4 other people, no real means to navigate except the stars that they only saw once or twice, to a whaling station. Arrived on the wrong side of the island, and then had to scale a mountain that had never been climbed. So they put screws from the boat into their shoes, climbed up the mountain, and then when they got to the top, it was pitch dark, and they realized they were all going to freeze to death because they couldn't see the way down. So they just slid. They said, to hell with it, we'll just slide to see what happens. They slid all the way down. So it's kind of story. It's a story that I've told in the context of leadership as well. And it goes down quite well, I think, as a leadership story. But it's worth reminding people it's kind of story of unpreparedness, you know, because the Norwegians who got to the pole, it was like, relatively speaking, it was a breeze. It was like, yeah, we actually know what we're doing. We know how to ski. Scott didn't know how to ski. It's like, yeah, we'll just go take some skis. We'll be fine. We're British. We can do anything. But it's like, no, well, you know, you might want to practice skiing first before you do that. Imagine arriving and saying, yeah, we'll just use these damn things to get to the South Pole. And then discovering that actually, oh, yeah, so yes, it was a British pluck, but, you know, rather sort of self-inflicted to some extent.
British arrogance, yeah. But I like the other part of that story is the advert that he put in the newspaper for people to join him in the expedition was something like certain death. It's going to be awful.
Yeah.
Like,
safe, return uncertain. You probably won't come back.
yeah.
If you do make it, yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. And people really, people applied for the role.
They did.
You have the right
hundreds
kind of
them.
characters.
And he asked them if they could sing, because that was part of his recruitment strategy. He wanted to know if they would bond well, because his leadership philosophy was all about camaraderie, which today we would call psychological safety. So it's sort of illustrative of this concept, which is it's not about the capabilities of people, but rather if you've got the right psychological safety in a team, you can achieve extraordinary things. So,
yeah. Wow. So, Nick, who was he to you?
he was my great-grandmother on my mother's side, I think, was his niece. So if you can kind of unravel that. So I'm not like a direct descendant, but my great-grandmother remembered them setting out, and I remembered her. I would have been sort of only 12 or something, so we didn't have long conversations about it when she died. But she does remember them being ridiculously amateurish, like, it's going to be jolly cold, chaps, so you'll need to pack an extra jumper. That kind of attitude.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. How about you, Charlie? What does Kneen mean?
Kneen mean? What does Kneen mean? Well, first I have to say it's a horrible name to have.
Is it Kneen?
Kneen, yeah. Silent K, silent fucking K. Yeah.
Oh, I have
to spell it all the time.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. And people call me all sorts of things. But it's a
I thought it was a silent maybe. Anyway.
silent K. It's Manx. So if you go to Isle of Man, there's a lot of Neens on the island. And if you go to Kneen.com, there is an hilariously amateur website which someone has built in like the 80s. But it tells you all about the origin of the name, and it's basically there's a lot of migration from Scotland to Ireland and vice versa. The Normans came along at one point; there were Vikings there, but it's I think it's a version of O'Connor or it's like Kneen or something like that. It's Irish origin, I think, or Celtic origin. My other names are William and Rufus. So Rufus is a family name that gets passed down by all the lads. Yeah. It's, I don't know, my granddad had it. He was they were quite a military family, I think. So it's just a tradition that we've got. My son's called Ziggy Rufus. My brother's called Thomas Edward Rufus. I don't know where William comes from. Charlie's Charlie. So, yeah. Kneen's probably a more interesting name than my other names. I haven't got a cool backstory for, like you have, Neusha, for those ones. But
I love it. There's an Edgar Kneen on Wikipedia who was an Australian rules footballer. And there's a picture of him, and it's like the spitting image of you, Charlie. Just like, well, I mean, from a distance, it's pretty striking similarity. So maybe, yeah.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah, that 1882 to 1962. Yeah, brilliant. I love his outfit.
I want to see now. Who are we looking up?
Edgar Kneen.
Edgar Kneen. And there's a whole Harry Potter fandom rabbit hole to go down as well.
Is there?
There is. Apparently Kneen is a wizarding family in Harry Potter.
Is it?
He was a medieval...
That's great.
Goodwin Kneen was a medieval Quidditch player.
This is great. Goodwin Kneen. Amazing. Gunhilda was a bit angry. I got back so late. I had to duck a couple of nasty jinxes, but I've got my fingers back now.
This is just how you talk, Charlie. Striking similarity.
It's a quote. It's a quote from Olaf, his cousin, apparently, in a letter to Goodwin Kneen.
Olaf. Isn't that the snowman in Frozen?
Yes, it is.
Olaf.
Yeah.
So I did there's a podcast which is just, I think, three Irish guys that chat about history, and they do one on the Isle of Man, and they basically tell the story of the Isle of Man as a kind of, is handed off between different kind of warring chieftains and stuff like that. But basically, Olaf was the king of the Isle of Man. There was an Olaf basically in charge of the Isle of Man for like centuries. Everyone that ended up being in charge was apparently an Olaf. So yeah, maybe that's where it comes from. Who I think probably another Kneen wrote that. It might have been my sister.
What, the Harry
Look,
Potter fan fiction? Is she a big, what was today? He's a
Yeah, what are they called?
Potterite.
A Potter. Says Kneen lived with Gunhilda in Yorkshire sometime around the mid-12th century. He also had a cousin in Norway, Olaf, which seemed to be an occasional correspondent of his. God, this is going deep, isn't it?
Is this the Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Harry Potter fandom. Someone's gone for it.
Do you write much, Neusha? Do you write any kind of...
I don't. No, I don't. I wrote a short film a couple of years ago. So I went to drama school, and that was my first career as an actor, which I loved till I just got to a point where I realised I was going to be destitute by the time I was 30, probably. And actually, it's something that has very much led to where I am now. Yeah, I wrote a short film, which was good fun. It was very silly with a friend of mine, which Luke shot for us. We filmed it in my brother's flat, and have intended to write. I'd like to do a screenwriting course at some point. Just because I think not even necessarily of course, I'd like to write something that actually gets made, but I did think the process of writing is so good for you. The friend that I wrote this short, that he's currently doing a creative writing course with Curtis Brown. I don't know if you know Curtis Brown, and she just, it's absolutely amazing. And they're going to write a novel by the end of 6 months.
Wow.
Getting mentorship, and it's a weekly, they go up and have weekly workshops. But I think it's also just that thing of, I think if I'm to write something, actually doing it through a course, not that I need, I think just having something to work towards every week, and then having critique, being able to read it to people, to get feedback, that for me would work really well. Because I think what I'm not sure about with the screenwriting, I have no idea how to structure a screenplay. I wouldn't, I'm sure there's lots online of how you do it, how you go about it. But I think having some kind of, formal structure around how to go about it in the first instance, I think that would be really helpful.
I see a lot of people, though, on TikTok who are combining typically amateur dramatic skills and a little bit of film skill to create stuff that, goes viral, because they can sort of play out little conversations or interactions, or that seems to be a medium that's working particularly well at low production value, low / kind of budget.
Yeah.
Have there been any that have stood out to you, Nick?
There have. I was afraid you'd ask that, because there's a guy who does absolutely amazing ones. I'm so envious. Baron Ryan. His name is Baron Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah, Baron Ryan. Have a look at him. He just acts both parts himself. It's like a conversation with himself, but the scripting, the acting, and the film is just beautiful, and it's just him. But anyway, it might not be your taste, but it just seems like what the combination of skills that you have as an actor and your partner has in film would just be so powerful.
Yeah.
It's just
must be just kind of having it as the objective being just for fun. I think that's something that my mum keeps asking me if I fancy doing Amdram, and I'll be honest, over the last few years I've been going, Amdram, I'm professional theatre.
Yes.
And actually, you know what? You get bloody awful Amdram, and actually some great Amdram. If the purpose is that you're doing it just to get on stage, and I mean, that's probably one of the things I miss most is being cast. I'm a bit of a team. I absolutely loved spending 3 or 4 months with a group of people that you initially don't know at all, and then going through this whole process, and then being, and then being on stage with the front of how I found the whole experience just so, just a wonderful thing. And some of those people.
I think that's extraordinary. And it's, because everything's coming together, isn't it? It's a group of people united with a purpose, I guess, and with a story that they're going to tell and an audience. And how do you connect that to your audience and all those interesting questions psychologically? I just think it's such, what is the expression? A quintessential human endeavor.
Process, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a design for that. I've been thinking about it for a while, but using that process as you describe as a learning journey. I just think it's really, to your point, I think it's it has potential to be transformative for people as well, particularly those who aren't, I guess naturally, who haven't done that kind of thing before. So I love all of that. I was gonna say the storybook the book I'd recommend to read if you're looking to kind of get into the screenwriting thing. There's a book called Story by Robert McKee.
Oh, I've read that.
Oh, you read it? Brilliant. Yeah.
Do you remember the film? What was it? The one with Nicolas Cage, adaptation. Do you remember that film where he's playing two brothers?
Yeah.
Quite a bonkers film anyway, but I was reading it at the time. I watched that film, and of course he starts going to Robert McKee? Kind of study, and then his brother, who's becomes hugely successful essentially by following all of these kind of tropes and structures, and his other brother, who is the more talented, just is sort of struggling. It's a great story, but no, I remember that being a really useful book. There's a few others that I've got on the show.
I like because I did a bit of writing. I did a year of film, and I did a bit of script writing and whatnot. And I think what was difficult to unlearn when you're used to writing kind of prose is the way that film is written is. It's almost like UX design in a way. It's almost like you strip out all of there's a couple of things I kind of always strikes me about it. One is you strip out everything that isn't needed in the script. And two, exposition is banned, isn't it? You're not meant to explain what's happening. Characters are meant to go, you see it in children's stories and films all the time, that characters would explain what's happening. And you can always tell a bad script by the character basically saying, "This is what's happening" in the film.
Yeah.
Does that a lot of that in The Hobbit. And so I think I really enjoy the process of thinking, if this is what I need to project to the audience, that this from this perspective of this character, like what is the psychology that sits underneath this character, but then also how does that surface in a indirect way in a scene, and then the scene is just a kind of, it's essentially a scaffolding of presenting this character and the journey that this character's on, which is essentially finding who they are, and you do that through indirect subtext constantly. So I think it's a really enjoyable process. It's just finding the bloody time, isn't it, Neusha? Because when you've got a child, it's basically impossible.
I know. I was thinking that when I was, being invited to be on this, which I was delighted to be. And I was like, what the hell do I do with I don't have any time. I've got nothing to talk about except potty training and tantrums in supermarkets, which is my life. But finding the bloody time. But my mum always said, if you want to do something, you'll make time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we that flew by. We were spoken for an hour, so there was plenty to talk about, Neusha. You see, it's not just nappies and
talk about.
Nappies and shafting.
Potty training next time, I guess.
Tune in next time for potty training tips. But thank you so much, Neusha. I'm really delighted to get you on the session, the show, whatever you want to call it, podcast, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Right. It was such a delight. Thank you. And this is perfect timing because my phone's about to run out of battery. So
good.
I've done really well with tech today.
We work through the technology issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
All right.
thank you both so much, and hopefully see you at the next wedding, whatever that was.
Yeah. Someone needs to get divorced and married again.
Let's get there. We'll stay drunk.
Well, cheers.
Have a good one. Bye both.